to become more confident is by achieving things instead of thinking about things. And
that's a great point, because achieving things makes you feel good. Everyone wants to feel good.
Right.
And when you achieve something, you generally feel better about yourself,
provided
not
you
worse.
don't have the frame of mind that, okay, I've achieved something, but I could have done better.
Yeah.
There's times to celebrate success.
You're right. If you enter a success situation where other people would say, and again,
Oh,
that
great
framing,
job.
coming back
Yeah.
to that framing, right? The other person looking at the situation would go, man, that was amazing how you did that. And your attitude is, well, I should have done better. If you hold expectations for yourself, the internal dialogue is complaining and criticizing you, as opposed to, like, be your own freaking balcony person, right? Lift yourself. Make sure your internal dialogue is lifting you up, not going, oh, think, and where does the voice come from? What does it remind you of? Whose voice is it? Is it your dad or your mom that used to say, oh, why didn't you get a better grade? Did I tell you the story about my
haircut?
I have this best friend from childhood, Simon. He's a fantastic guy. I haven't talked to him in quite a while, but he lives in San Francisco now. He's got his family. He's doing great.
Does he call you Ken?
Maybe. So he was, like me, very studious. I hung out with the smart kids because I knew it would help me get, the kids who were always smarter than me, that helped me get better grades.
Yeah.
And his dad used to put a lot of pressure on him to do well in school. And one day he told me a story, something to the effect of, his dad said to him, if you don't get your grades up, you're going to be at the university looking in the window and being on the outside.
His father sounds like a sadist.
This guy got 90s, okay?
Yeah.
And
his father took credit.
His dad was fantastic, great guy. But he really wanted to encourage his son to do better in school. And that was the mindset was, well, how could you do better than a 90? I remembered also the joke one time of, a kid getting a 98 on, let's say, a chemistry test or something. And the parents saying, like, well, where did the other 2 points go? Like, haha, it's just a joke. Obviously, you got a 98. It's
but you can
amazing.
devastate someone with that.
Yeah, I know.
Really
It's
can.
not. So if you're doing that in your own auditory digital, your own internal voice, saying, I could have done better. Whose voice maybe does that reflect from your past?
Well,
because you learned that
Richard
somewhere.
Bandler says that,
right?
and he said a lot of people didn't get a critical voice until they studied transactional analysis, which is transactional analysis.
Transactional analysis, okay.
Which is I'm okay, you're okay.
Yeah.
But he said everybody who goes through TA develops an internal critical voice. Like, this is Bandler, not me.
Okay.
But he said a really interesting thing. He said, ask yourself, whose voice is it?
Yeah.
Like, if you've got a voice that's beating you down and not lifting you up.
I said this because I learned it from you somewhere along the way.
Credit,
right?
finally.
Credit where credit is due. There you go. But that's a good point, right? You have to learn to have that internal critical voice.
Yeah.
You don't grow up automatically going, oh, I should criticize myself. So shift your internal voice to encourage you and congratulate you for getting to the next level. In the field of exercise and weightlifting and bodybuilding or whatever, people talk about their personal best or sprinting or pretty much in anything. In any competitive event, people will talk about their PB, personal best. Right? So what's your personal best? And anything that exceeds that, you should be freaking congratulating yourself. Now, and have endurance.
Okay, rewind for a sec to this critical voice thing, because that's important, and that can really hold people back. It can wreck your confidence if you know something.
This wasn't in our notes. We've thrown the script away.
Interestingly, I'm being serious here, as I always am.
Oh, okay.
Always serious about comedy. But the whole thing about the internal voice, the critical voice, and I found a really interesting thing. I changed my internal voice, and this is somewhat of a confession. Now, we had a friend years ago, Heather, and I haven't seen her in many years. She and her husband, he became a real dick and left her. And she was always wonderful. And she was another Enneagram 5. She was very smart, but she was also extremely auditory. Her auditory sense was very, very developed. She was a linguist, and she had this amazing voice. And I get this whole ASMR effect, as you know. So her voice would drive me crazy. I'd just start feeling I was going into a trance, and not in a sexual sense, not there's anything wrong with it, but just the voice would affect me. And I always thought of those movies where there's an atomic bomb going to go off in a factory or something, and it's counting down.
Yeah.
And they're trying to disarm it.
And they always get to it at 2 seconds.
But they got this really hot female voice.
Oh, yeah,
that's the computer.
It's about to explode.
No, it doesn't do that. It's this. I would get her to say it. Please. She'd say, 4 minutes to nuclear meltdown.
Yeah.
I wanted the damn thing to blow up. I wanted it to blow up.
4 minits to nuclear meltdown.
You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so I changed my internal voice to her voice for a while. It was fantastic. Funny. I didn't get anything done, but
you were very relaxed. Yeah,
I felt like a great success.
Very relaxing, very artistic.
Now, if you want to become more confident, one of the things we think is really interesting is reading biographies of successful people.
Yeah.
Your brain cannot discern the difference between something you vividly imagine and something that happens to you.
That's a good point, because if you're reading a biography about somebody very successful, reading, I think, is important, because when you're looking at those words on the page,
which is what reading
you're making internal movies and processing this information.
Yes.
And people tend to associate themselves into those situations.
Sure.
And it is inspirational in many ways.
And that's a great thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Read biographies of successful people and let their schema, their successes resonate with your unconscious mind.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to read it and think you are, Elon Musk or somebody now, but these are people who've done a lot and who've stellar confidence, and learn from their stuff. I think that's very important.
Very good point.
Thank you, Chris.
I like it.
Now, I said, what about applying the Grinder model? Just applying it to your confidence, putting yourself in better states when you have to do something. If you're in a better state to do something, guess what? You're going to do better at that thing you're attempting to do.
Yeah, good point. And the Grinder model, we should do a quick recap.
Let's do that. Oh, your dog's coming.
Watch out.
No, he's going to bag me again.
He always sneaks up from underneath here. Hey, buddy.
He just sleeps on my lap.
People are going to think we're faking it because he never actually makes a real appearance on camera. Grinder model, Mike, as you're petting the dog. Will he? Yeah. Oh, there we go. He's making an appearance. Hey, buddy. Yeah. Good boy.
Okay, continue.
Yeah. We always tell him. Small dogs, when we were learning about this, is always say something like pick you up. Very consistent. So they know, because they don't like the idea of being small and you just sort of sneaking up on them and
losing
grabbing
interest.
them.
But go ahead.
Doesn't help their confidence in you as a safe person to be around, right?
How to build your confidence.
Yeah,
Talk about the Grinder model and change the topic and pick up a dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Great way to build your confidence.
Buddy, we're flexible.
I know.
Yeah, flexibility is one of our words of the day. Grinder model, breathing is at the very top, right? So if you change your breathing, you change
your
everything.
Physiology, your physiology changes
your state. Your state changes your performance.
Which lives in the house that Jack built.
There you go. So that's the model, basically. So breathing, physiology,
change your breathing. Put yourself in a powerful state. Relax, change your breathing. You'll be in a better state to do whatever the task is. Then you've got something to look back on and say, oh, I succeeded here, instead of being a complete dick.
Yeah. So there's the conscious intervention where you're saying, okay, I need to be in a confident state right now. And I'm confident about that. So I'm going to breathe as if I'm a confident person. I'm going to hold my body as if I'm a confident person. I'm going to get in the state, do the ego state calling, where you'll maybe tap and say, I want to call to my executive somebody who is confident, somebody who is assertive, somebody who's well-spoken, whatever it is for the situation, right?
Yep.
And then boom, do it. And then you've got to remember what else we covered. When you catch yourself doing something awesome, internal voice, congratulate yourself. If you're lacking for material to believe in yourself, ask someone else, what do you admire about me?
That's good. And what you said about congratulate yourself too. I got a thing from Richard Mandel. I only did a short training with him one evening. But he said a thing I've not forgotten that was brilliant. He said, when you're taking a shower, he said, and you want to get psyched up for something, sing in the shower or whatever. But he said, have full quad speaker sound in your head.
Oh, yeah.
With music. And I use Wagner. Bum, ba, ba, bum, 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 ba, ba, bum, 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 ba, ba, bum, 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 ba, ba, bum. That was turned to Apocalypse Now. But that's not the point. But by doing that, I'm going to use something that's going to change my state, that's going to bring my confidence to bear in a situation.
Yeah, sure.
And Chris, you're going to find this absolutely impossible to believe, but I swear to you, it's true.
Okay. I'll prepare myself.
I was a very unconfident kid. I had no confidence.
Oh man, I get that.
No, but I had no confidence when I was 19, 20 as well.
Really?
None. Because I was, you get the big nose happening, and
even though you were at that point, you hadn't become
a performer.
You had not become
yet.
a performer
No.
and a stage hypnotist.
No,
but you had been doing mentalism a long time. But you were
but not performing.
Amateur. You'd never been paid
adrenaline,
for it.
Shaky, and remember, I had skipped a grade. I'd gone from grade 4 to 6, or 3 to 5, but then I failed 2 grades. So I didn't really have a lot of self-confidence. But here's what did
it change?
I was thrown out of the frickin' boat and forced to swim. And I can remember January 28th, 1975. The following day was my very first gig I ever did in Edmonton. I had not been away from home other than a week-long stint at the Island Natural Science School that we mentioned, where Bob Daly with the Winkle Pickers could flick the boot.
Oh,
that was the only time I was away from home.
And you were 21 years old, right?
Not for the Island Natural Science School.
No. When you were in 1975.
Yes.
I
was 21.
The day before you
not been away from home.
Yeah.
Not flown by myself. I'm flying to Edmonton on a CP Orange jet.
Were you scared out of your mind?
Not scared. I was excited about it. I felt homesick and weird and unconfident. And I can remember at the airport, the damn song was playing, "Leaving on a jet plane, don't know if it's gonna crash at all." All this goes in my head.
Man.
Anyway, I flew there, did my gig, thought I did brilliantly because I had the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Oh, yeah.
Thought I knew everything about mentalism. 2 years later, saw how bad it was. Just horrible.
But it didn't matter because it was 2 years later and you had elevated.
This is it.
Because you had endurance.
And I look back through the halls of memory of the kaleidoscopic. Whoa, they're working.
These think tank words are really awesome. Man. Why didn't I realize this before? So you had over 2 years you had elevated, and you had looked back and gone, "Oh my goodness, how
bad I was!
Whoa, that was horrible."
I did a magic effect. I did a mentalism effect for Philip Agee, who was a CIA agent. He gave me one of my best quotes. He said, "I would never want to play cards against Mike Mandel."
Yeah,
and that was freaking amazing. Then I started to get my confidence, but I had been thrown by my agent essentially out of the boat and forced to swim.
But he didn't make you. Was it he or she? He did not make you do this.
No.
You said, "I can do that."
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, if you can, I can get you a book."
Yeah.
So you took that initiative.
Right.
And then somebody
became confident.
Somebody helped push you out of the nest.
Yes. And I became confident after the fact.
Isn't that interesting?
Remember, come to the edge.
Yes.
It's too high. Come to the edge. Come to the edge. And they came, and he pushed them, and they flew.
Yeah.
See, this is why you listen and watch this podcast.
This is interesting.
These are gems. These are another way you can build your confidence. And with this, I close. It's a cool thing from graphotherapy. It's understood now that the brain, when you write, and hardly anybody does anymore, but when you write, it's a complex neuromuscular function where your prefrontal cortex is sending a message to your hand. It's not your handwriting, it's your brain. And they're in a continuous loop with each other. That's why if you're tired, your writing will change and so on. If you're on drugs, your writing will change. If you're injured, your writing will change, especially if it's your writing hand that's injured. But
especially if it's your brain. I thought you were going to say.
Very much so. But the bottom line is, you're wearing those horrible socks again, Chris, with your face is on them.
Yeah, they're right.
The question is,
showed them off in podcast 168.
How can you build in confidence through handwriting? You can, in as little as 28 days. There's a couple of things I recommend you do. I saw that and made me flinch in the corner of my eye.
Is this your signature suggestion?
Well, yes. When you sign your name, and everyone still does that, underline your signature with a single left to right underscore, strong line.
It builds in
self-reliance, which is a leadership trait. Don't go through your name unless it's through the descenders like G's and Y's, but not through the name itself.
Baseline.
Single, heavy line
stroke
underneath your name.
With assertiveness.
Right. Yes. Also, your small letter T's, put the bar higher. This will build in self-esteem. It'll build in higher goals in your life. And just for the fun of it, make your lower loops large and well-formed and make sure they cross the baseline coming back. You do all these, you'll build in self-esteem, you'll build in self-reliance. And it happens automatically. Just spend 5-10 minutes a day writing in a journal, build in these traits.
I want to offer one more suggestion here too.
You bladed the hand, so this is
yes,
important.
Exactly. If oftentimes I have noticed, because I was certainly someone who was subjecting myself to this, what I'm about to tell you, is
don't go admitting too much.
The inability to say no to people. And actually, I know you had an inability to say no many, many years ago as well, right? You always say yes. You feel bad if you say no, so you say yes to people. Oh, can you do this for me? Oh, yeah, sure, I suppose I could. And then you maybe overpromise, overcommit,
and then you
fail.
resent
Then
the
you
fact
feel,
that you said no.
feel bad about yourself,
Or that you
feel
haven't
bad
said
about your
no.
performance. Other people feel bad. You disappoint people.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're doing a great job, but you're not enjoying it because it's stuff you really didn't want to do.
Right.
You've got to get good at saying no when it is necessary to say no. And one of the easy ways to do this is in situations where you would like to say no. You can start baby steps and say, well, no, I can't do it. Let's say somebody asks you if you can talk to them at a certain time.
No.
You can say, I can't do that, and then offer an alternative, but I can do this. That's an easy thing. And,
of course, you can frame it any way you want.
Yeah.
Can you babysit for us? No, I can't do that.
No, but I can recommend I can recommend a good babysitter.
Is ignore your request completely.
Yeah, you can be a jerk about it.
And they go, okay, thanks.
That's humor, right? There you go.
I know. It's one of the things I love doing.
So you can always offer the alternative if you want to say other than just plain old no. You can say no, and here's the alternative.
I like the way you're using and instead of but.
Yeah. Yes,
and isn't confrontational.
Right.
Saying but deletes everything you said. So if you
which isn't so bad on the back of a no, but as opposed to yes, but.
Right.
You don't want to cancel the yes. It's okay, I think, to cancel the no out with the but. It's not a big deal. I just practice saying no, and I can do this.
Practice saying no.
Right.
No.
But practice saying no when it makes sense to say no. It will give you a sense of confidence, won't it?
Because it's
the correct answer is no.
It's a personal strength, right? Yeah. Being able to say no and be saying yes to everybody makes you one of these really wimpy, nice people who people don't respect. You have to be willing to take a stand for your own time. I mean, I don't even mean a big issue like your beliefs or whatever, but just be willing to. I said I did your one. I didn't say just.
I'm going to give you one more as well before we close out. Thank people genuinely with real reasons.
Thank you. That's a good one.
If you're looking for a way to practice being confident in delivering a message to someone else, just look for something that you can either thank someone for or compliment them for in a genuine way.
Yeah, it must be genuine.
I'm pretty sure I learned this minor piece of a technique from Tony Robbins years and years ago. We had a program called Mastering Influence, and I listened to it. I used to love listening to it at the gym. And he says, if you're going to give someone a compliment, give them a compliment and then back it up with a reason. So something like, hey, I really like what you've done with your hair. And I say that because whatever, I don't know. I made that one up. It's a bad example, but you don't have much hair.
Which is way better than, oh yeah, I see you had a haircut. And and I see what he was trying to do. That's a great one. Somebody gets a haircut, just say, oh, I see what the stylist was trying to do. Oh, someone actually said that to me once. He was being serious. That's when I had my long hair. Look, I buzzed my hair this morning, man. It's feeling good.
But I'm not even going to come up with an example here. So look for a reason to compliment or thank someone and then explain
give them the reason.
If it's a compliment, give them the reason. I say that because whatever it is. As long as it's genuine, it comes from your real heart. You're not bull crapping them.
Yeah.
You're saying the truth. You're confident in what you say. It will build up your confidence in speaking to other people.
And you'll be building in the buildery.
And people are going to be happy because think about it. If you say to me, hey, I really like the way that shirt fits on you. I can tell that you've been working out. Thank you. I feel great about it because I want to hear messages like that, right?
Yeah. And then they tend to come back with, however.
Yeah, exactly.
Blade the hand.
There's your humor. There's your humor.
Here comes the problem. Having said that, I love to give somebody a compliment. Only this guy or my other best friend, Michael C. Anthony. I will say I'll give him a great compliment, but Mike is waiting for it now.
Yeah.
You can tell from my voice, I'm going to say,
however,
having said that.
Yeah, having said that.
Here comes a horrible insult. Fantastic stuff.